Welcome to the Alcohol Tipping Point podcast. I'm your host, Deb Maisner. I'm a registered nurse, health coach, and alcohol-free badass. I have found that there's more than one way to address drinking. If you've ever asked yourself if drinking is taking more than it's giving, or if you've found that you're drinking more than usual, you may have reached your own alcohol tipping point. The Alcohol Tipping Point is a podcast for you to find tips, tools, and thoughts to change your drinking. Whether you're ready to quit forever or a week, this is the place for you. You are not stuck and you can change. Let's get started. Thank you for listening to this bonus episode of the Alcohol Tipping Point podcast. I wanted to release this episode about acceptance. It is from a talk that I gave to one of my groups, and I also gave it recently at Sober in the City in Seattle. And it's such a helpful concept that I wanted to release it as a podcast episode. So that's what this is. It's a recording of a presentation I did. And I think you're going to find it really helpful in changing your drinking and just life in general, helping you navigate life storms, whatever is happening to you. I think that this concept can really help. And it can be kind of a vague concept, acceptance. What is that? So I think that having this description, what I talk about, some misconceptions about acceptance, what it is, what it isn't, and then going through some exercises and techniques to help you practice acceptance. And we're really talking about accepting our emotions and our thoughts, dropping the struggle, learning that work of sitting with the feelings. People always ask, what is that? How do I sit with my feelings instead of drink at them? So I think that this episode will really help you with that. And this is just one of the tools that I cover in my Alcoholidays. The Alcoholiday is a monthly dry group I've been running for the last over 2 years now. And it's just a great place to get support and tools that are science and compassion based to help you practice not drinking. Whether you're looking to take a break for the month or for forever, I want to be there to help support you. So do check that out. I'll put the link in the show notes. You can go to alcoholtippingpoint.com/alcoholiday and use your code LOVE to get 20% off. Make it super affordable, full of tons of information, probably too much information. But I think that it's so helpful because you're going to find your own unique way to change your drinking. There is not just one way, and thank God, right? I want to give you lots of different tools, concepts for you to try on and find that combination, that perfect combination, that last puzzle piece that helps you finally get over this thing in your life. If drinking is your thing and you're ready to face it, please join us in the next Alcoholiday. And without further ado, here's your class on acceptance. Welcome to this class on acceptance. I'm so delighted that you're here. This is one of my favorite topics to talk about. I talk about it in our mindfulness class because acceptance at its core is accepting the present moment as it is, not as you would have it be, and accepting your feelings and your thoughts in that present moment. And that's what mindfulness is, just being in the present moment, being in the now. And then in the mindfulness class that I teach, we talk about these different concepts. One of them is acceptance, one's breaking out of autopilot, one is letting go of judgment. But all of those concepts are all part of mindfulness and all part of you just navigating life on life's terms, like Kate always says. And so acceptance to me is just one of the concepts that really stands out and that I find really helpful and soothing. So we'll get into it. Now, when we talk about acceptance, though, sometimes we're talking about outer and inner experiences. So acceptance, is just a willingness to experience things as they are instead of insisting or trying to make them as you want them to be. And that's kind of more external circumstances. Maybe that's a person in your life. Maybe that is a situation that's happening that's completely out of your control and you're struggling with learning how to accept that situation, accept something that you can't change and not struggle against it. And then acceptance is also really about inner work, our inner experiences and being open to those. And that would be like our thoughts and images, our memories, feelings, emotions, urges, impulses, sensations. It's opening up to those and allowing them to be as they are, regardless of whether they're pleasant or painful. Because oftentimes we are resisting our feelings. And so acceptance is allowing them. And then I think sometimes it's helpful to think of other ways we can think about acceptance, other ways to talk about it. Some other words you hear, phrases are just allowing it to be there. Open up and make room for it, expand around it, sit with it, drop the struggle, stop fighting it, make peace with it, give it some space, soften up around it, and let it be. So that's what acceptance and how we kind of talk about it is portrayed. And then I think it's helpful to talk about what acceptance is not, because I think that's where a lot of people resist this idea of acceptance. We think we're just rolling over and just accept, like we're a doormat. This picture is actually from this was my daughter a few years ago. This was in the height of COVID. And I just thought, this picture kind of says COVID. She at that time was not accepting it. Neither was the bunny. But anyway, just thought that was a good one where you're just it's not so passive. Acceptance isn't always passive. It doesn't mean that you agree with something that's happening. You might not agree with it, but you can accept that it's going on because it becomes useless to struggle with it. I think about people who, I can accept that there are some people out there who think the world is flat. I don't agree with it, but can I accept there's people that think that? Yeah, I can. And guys, I live in Idaho. There's a lot of things I don't agree with, but I can accept that other people have different beliefs than I do. Acceptance isn't a consent that what happened is fair. There's often injustices in the world. There are things that go on, there are wars, there are conflicts. It doesn't mean that it's fair or we're consenting to it. We are just able to accept that it's happening. Acceptance isn't weakness. It takes a lot of courage to face reality, especially if it's not in your or in your favor. It takes a lot of courage to accept how you're feeling at the moment, especially if that feeling is shame or regret or anger or anxiety or whatever. We don't want to show that part of ourselves, but showing it is what makes us stronger. Acceptance isn't giving up. It's realizing like, okay, maybe your time and effort are best applied elsewhere. Doesn't mean you're giving up on an idea or helping out or whatever that looks like for you. And it's not quitting. You can shift your focus and attention from what you can change or influence. There's some things we can change, some we can't. And we don't need to completely quit. We can just focus our attention and energy. And we don't need to just give up in resignation. The thing is, to change anything, to change a feeling, to change a situation, we have to accept it first. Well, first we have to be aware of it, right? Awareness. And then we need to accept it. And then we can change it. And so with acceptance, it's a willingness to experience. It's a willingness to just have your thoughts and feelings as they are in this moment. Again, it's not passive, it's not sitting back, it's just it's being willing to experience this moment, however painful it might be. And it's tuning into your personal feelings. It's tuning into how do we really feel? What am I feeling? What am I thinking? And sometimes it's letting go of control. Sometimes we can't control what is happening. And so it's part of letting go of that, but also it's about taking responsibility. It doesn't mean that you have to accept everything and say, "Oh, I can't do anything about it." You don't have to be passive about it, but you can take responsibility for the fact that you feel things and that you have to deal with those feelings. That is also part of acceptance. So you see, it can be active. And some benefits of acceptance are it helps us heal. And we're not able to heal our wounds unless we're aware that they exist, right? It's like we're shining a flashlight on them. We're shining a light on these hidden parts of ourself, these parts we keep just under wrap and we're trying to hide. And most of the time, our past and our past hurts, they just want to be acknowledged. And then once we can do that, then healing can begin. But we need to accept it first. And that can give us mental peace. Right? I mean, there's nothing wrong with wanting to escape these feelings of unhappiness, of distress. We all want to do that. We know that that's normal. It's just some of the ways we do it aren't helpful. And when we try to avoid our emotions and our worries, we try to avoid it all, it can make things just worse. That's why we want to try to find peace and know, like, okay, I can sit with this feeling. I'm willing to experience this feeling. I accept it instead of fighting it, and then I can move on. And part of that involves like you're no longer fighting reality because that's a battle you can't win, right? There's some things that are just facts. And if you try to fight them, you can't win. So that's part of the beauty of acceptance is it can give you peace that way. I think it helps, talking about acceptance is to talk about the opposite of acceptance, which would be resistance and avoidance. So we'll start with resistance. In everybody's life, we have pleasant things, just ordinary pleasant things. Maybe a phone call from a friend or a compliment or like a nice conversation. And then everybody has unpleasant things. Just ordinary, unpleasant, annoying things, traffic jams, getting into an argument, completing boring tasks, doing laundry, all those pleasant things and unpleasant things. Those are just part of life. They're just inevitable parts of daily life. But we have different ways that we deal with them. We want to embrace the pleasant things, keep them there, you know, and then we want to fight and resist the unpleasant things. We don't want to experience them. And so as a result, we resist them, we push them away. But it's inevitable. I talk to you guys all the time, like, life is 50-50. Sometimes it's awesome, sometimes it's awful, and it's everything in between. And when you can accept that concept, like, "Oh, life is gonna be pleasant and unpleasant. I can accept the unpleasant things because I know I'm gonna have pleasant things too." It's just a balance, and then we're not struggling so much. Because when we're resisting the unpleasant things, the things that are inevitable, then we get those feelings of resistance. We start to struggle and it makes things worse and we're fighting. And then we get even more like thoughts and actions coming up trying to get rid of those negative experiences. And not just the annoying ones like the laundry, but the other ones. When we get angry, when we get in a fight with our spouse, when we're anxious, all those things. We're trying to get rid of those. And so what happens is you get this conflict. You get this conflict between when something now, when you're in the present moment, when it's pain, we don't want to be in pain anymore. We're trying to get out of it as quick as we can. And if we feel fear, if we're scared, we don't want to feel fear. So we're trying to get out of that too. We don't want to sit in sadness. We want to feel joy. And so we're starting to resist our current now experience. And that's a conflict. It's that conflict that occurs between what's happening right now and what our mind tells us should be happening. Our mind is shoulding us. Oh, you shouldn't feel pain. You shouldn't feel fear. You shouldn't feel sadness. Shoulding all over yourself. Uh, and it's normal to, that's your brain. That's your brain that's quickly moving towards pleasure and away from pain in the quickest way possible. But a lot of the times we do that. We do that in unhealthy ways. We're either suppressing it, we're distracting it, we're drinking at it. That's what we do. That's what we did. We just drink at those feelings and those would go away for a little bit. Then they come back up. What happens is that the struggle then becomes the problem, not the solution. It's the struggle. It's trying to push everything away instead of accepting it and allowing it as it is and letting life run its course, the 50-50 course. I want to do this exercise with you all. It's called Push Away the Paper. So if you have a pen or a piece of paper, grab it. I'll give you a minute. So, what I want you to do on this piece of paper is write a thought that comes up for you that you often get like stuck in or hooked on. It could also be a feeling, just something that keeps you stuck. And maybe it's I'm not enough. Or maybe you could even do it with like I want to drink or I'm broken or just some kind of thought feeling that you can just jot down on your paper. And obviously we have lots of them. We're just going to pick one. And I'm gonna write down mine. I'm not enough. I have this thought a lot. I have this thought while I was doing this presentation. More like this isn't enough. I'm not doing enough. It's not right. It's not perfect. I have that thought. So just keep your thought there for a second on your paper. And then I want you to think about just outside of yourself, just the room you're in, and just imagine that that's the world out there. And that's everything that's important to you. It's what you value, the people you love, what you like to do, things you like to eat, just things that bring you pleasure and just life. And then because it is the whole big world out there, it's also the challenges in your life too, and the things that you have to do just to function in day-to-day life. That could be your laundry, your job, driving kids around, whatever that looks like. So your whole world is out there. And then you've got this thought that you've written down on your piece of paper. And what I want you to do is just hold it out in front of you. Oh my gosh, my arms are so sore from my workout yesterday. This will be even more difficult for me. So hold it out and just try to push it away as hard as you can. Just dislocate your shoulders, just push it away. Keep pushing, trying to push it away. And just notice how that feels. Like it feels tight. It's tiring. I'm getting, I can't focus on other things that are meaningful to me. Like I'm so fixated on this thought. I can't do the stuff I need to do out there in the world. Remember, the world is all out there. I'm not able to get that done. I can't hold that baby like Bobby's doing, you know? I'm so fixated on this thought. And the other way we fixate on the thought is when we bring it close to us and we're either pushing it away or we're like fixated on it. Like, what if I tried to watch a movie like this, you guys? or went on a walk or gave this presentation. And the whole time I've just had this thought, I'm not enough. This isn't enough, you know? That would be really hard. But that's what we do with our thoughts and our feelings. We try to push them away and it's exhausting. So what can you do instead? You can just lay it down. Put it in your lap. And here's the thing, we're not getting rid of it. It's still there. And we might even notice it, we might glance at it, but we're still able to go on about our lives. It's not taking over. And so that's what happens, when we can accept and allow our thoughts, we can notice them and we can go about our daily life. And you can try this. You can try it, next time you have an urge to drink or something. I want to drink. You could write that down and just have it with you. Just notice it. Yeah, that's a thought, but I'm not letting it control me. I'm not letting it take over. And you might have a lot of thoughts. You could have a whole journal of these. We could have done this with the journal of all those thoughts and then just put them in your lap and notice them. It's just there. Okay, so back to acceptance. Opposite of avoidance, the willingness to experience what is present, whether that's negative or positive, and focusing on the now. And again, that's like mindfulness, just being present in the now. So with acceptance and the opposite of avoidance in this situation, like we're accepting that, okay, I'm having these feelings, pain, fear, sadness, but I'm not going to judge them. They just are. I'm willing to experience them and acknowledge them and not should, no more judgment, letting go of the should. This shouldn't happen. This isn't okay. It should be different. Just allowing yourself to feel what's present and accept yourself for having those feelings. And that's that. And then knowing they'll go away. They will. And so I love this next cartoon about acceptance. It illustrates it. Usually it's raining, and what happens? We think, oh, I mean, everyone has different thoughts depending on if it's summer or not. But, sometimes it's, oh, I wish it wasn't raining. My day would be better. Oh, it's always like this. I want it to be sunny, whatever. We're like not accepting that it's raining, and acceptance is, it's raining. Yep, that's acceptance. And I think the weather is such a good analogy because the weather is something out of our control. It's something we can view, and it's something that's constantly changing. Yeah, sometimes it's going to be sunny, and then sometimes it's a cloudy day, and then it's raining, and then it's snowing. But we know, just like the seasons, these will pass, and we can just notice them, allow them, and accept them without struggling. I'm not trying to change the weather unless I'm like an X-Men. One of them could, right? But I'm not trying to change it. I'm allowing it. I'm not going to waste my mental energy on that. That would be a waste of time. I'm gonna put on my raincoat and take an umbrella and just allow it. And so I want to share again the serenity prayer because it's such a good example of acceptance, and it's something we see a lot in our alcohol free world. And that's, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And then there's an additional verse that says, living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardships as the pathway to peace, taking as he did this world as it is, not as I would have it. And that's acceptance. There's a lot that goes into that statement. Let's talk about some ways to accept emotions. And this might help you just even identify emotions and accept them.
And some of this is just thoughtful stuff like, okay. One is the choice to feel. And this is just a way of looking at our feelings. Suppose I could give you a choice. So, choice A would be you never have to feel this feeling again. I know you're really uncomfortable right now. You're feeling anxious. You never have to feel it again. But it means you lose all capacity to love and care. Or choice B is you get to love and care. But when a conflict or struggle comes up, when your anxiety comes up, you're going to feel it. Which do you choose? And so the choice becomes obvious, and the point is, like, you just don't have one without the other. You have all the emotions. Another way to look at our emotions is from the viewpoint of a curious child. And some people also do this as if there was, like, an alien that just landed, you know? You're just noticing, where is the feeling in your body? Zooming in on it, and just observe it like you've never encountered it before. And notice, like, where are the edges? Where does it start and stop? And we're really get talking about sensations. We're not even naming it. We're talking about sensations, how anxiety, you can feel it in your heart, shame, you can feel it in your cheeks. Some people feel anxiety in their stomach. So you're really like, okay, where in my body is this? Is it moving? Is it still? Does it feel like it's on the surface or is it deep inside? Is it hot? Is it cold? Is it light? Is it heavy? And if it's an object, like is it a liquid? Is it a solid? Is it a gas? How big is it? How much space is it taking up? What's the temperature? What's the shape? What's the color? And so those are just kind of ways we can tap into what we're feeling without labeling it. Because with a label becomes a judgment too. And then from that judgment, from that, if you're like, that's an unpleasant feeling, I shouldn't be feeling that, then that kind of spirals. Another technique is just noticing and naming. This helps you also create distance from your thoughts. This is also just kind of like putting the paper down. So sometimes we're just fixated on I'm a failure, right? But you can instead be like, oh, okay, I'm having the thought that I'm a failure. And you can take it back even one step further. I'm noticing that I'm having the thought that I'm a failure. And that just kind of drops the struggle a bit. And we talk a lot about that with drinking too. Like, I want to drink. Okay, I'm having the thought that I want to drink. I'm noticing I'm having the thought that I want to drink. And so you see how it just kind of takes the drama out of it, the edge out of it. It's still there. You're still noticing it, but you're not like controlled by it. Another one is normalizing. Just, these feelings tell you that you're a normal human being who has a heart, who cares. We all feel these different range of emotions. It's very normal. You can use the healing hand. And again, that's like noticing the sensation of where you're feeling that emotion. And then imagine, use your hand, imagine that it's a healing hand. And maybe it's the hand of a loving nurse or a parent or a partner or whoever, and just send some warmth to the area. Not to get rid of the feeling, but just to open up around it, make room for it, hold it gently. And then practicing compassion with your feeling. Holding this feeling gently and softly as if it's a crying baby or a scared puppy. You know, you're not like, you're gentle. You're having compassion for it. And then I think, one of these techniques, this is the RAIN method from Tara Brach, and it really brings it all together. I think she does a nice job of this, is practicing acceptance using the RAIN method. And what that is the R is for recognizing what's going on, just becoming aware of it, acknowledging in the moment what's the thought, what's the feeling, and then allowing the experience to just be there as it is. Just letting those thoughts, emotions, feelings, sensations, simply let them be there without trying to fix them or avoid them or put them away or push them away. We're just acknowledging that they're there. We're letting them be. And sometimes you may want to just say, it's okay. It's okay that I'm feeling this. And the I is for investigate with interest and care. Once you've recognized and allowed what's going on, now you can investigate. You can use your curiosity. And you might ask yourself, what is this feeling trying to tell me? How am I experiencing this in my body? What am I believing? What does this vulnerable place want from me? What does it most need? That's the investigative part. And then you want to nurture with self compassion. Just recognize like we are suffering in the moment. And so we want to be gentle with ourselves too. And then thinking about whatever part of you, what is feeling wounded or frightened or hurting, what does it need? Does it need like a message of reassurance or forgiveness? Does it need companionship, love? What is it trying to tell you? What is this feeling trying to tell you? And then you can also just say to yourself, to this feeling, like, I'm here with you. I'm sorry. I love you. I love you and I'm listening. You can say to yourself, it's not your fault. Trust in your goodness. So that's really that nurturing with self compassion part, which is just lovely. And that was Tara Brock. And then another way we can practice acceptance is mindfulness. Because acceptance is accepting the present moment as it is without trying to change it. And that's what mindfulness is, like just being mindful of what's going on right now. And also because sometimes we can bring ourselves back to the present moment, the now, and know that we're okay. Because oftentimes we're either ruminating about the past or rehearsing for the future. We're not in the here and now. And so mindfulness helps us do that and it helps us with acceptance. So I do have a little mindfulness activity for you. Let's take a moment to do a mindfulness exercise that's around acceptance of a challenging situation. I want you to, before you get comfortable, think of a challenging scenario. And maybe it's something that happened recently, something that you struggled with, that you're trying to work through, that brought up some of those unpleasant feelings that you're trying to push away. I want you to go ahead and think of that. And then if you feel comfortable, you can go ahead and close your eyes and just take a deep breath in and exhale out. And I want you to really imagine yourself in this scenario. Just put yourself in that situation using all your senses. Bring it to the forefront of your mind. and notice the certain emotions that are arising. What are those feelings you're experiencing? What are some of the thoughts that are going through your mind? Now, I want you to focus on your body and see what feelings are arising in your body. Just simply observe what you feel. Maybe you feel tension or other sensations. Maybe you're experiencing a tightness in your stomach, around your heart, or your neck. You can think of it as a shape. What shape would it be? What temperature is it? And whatever you experience, try to stay with the sensations and just be gentle on yourself. And just use your breath as a vehicle to stay with those sensations. And direct your awareness to the part of the body where those sensations are strongest. Go ahead and breathe into that part of the body on the in breath. Rather than pushing this experience away, try to let it be. In silence, you can say to the feeling, "It's okay. You are allowed to be here. Whatever it is, it's okay. Let me feel it." See what happens if you allow yourself to experience whatever you experience in this moment. Just stay with the awareness of these bodily sensations and your relationship to them, breathing with them, accepting them, letting them be. You can repeat, "It's okay. Whatever it is, it's okay." Maybe you notice that the feeling's getting more intense. Maybe the feeling remains the same or reduces. Might also move in your body. Whatever happens, it's okay. Simply allow it to be, observe what happens. Remember to stay with the experience with curiosity and kindness. You're experiencing sensations without reacting. Now, slowly let your chosen scenario leave the focus of your attention. Go ahead and wiggle your fingers and your toes. Slowly open your eyes. Bring your attention back to the present. And how was that experience? So, this was just like a gentle reminder about just a technique you can use to help accept your feelings and allow them to be there. Oh, so accepting responsibility. And I just think of this as the journey and like the journey towards acceptance and like my journey towards accepting I had a drinking problem and how to do something about it. And so I've shared this before, but this is, the Laura McCowan, those 9 things that she wrote in We Are the Luckiest, for me, that is about acceptance. It says, it's not your fault, it is your responsibility. It's unfair that this is your thing. This is your thing. This will never stop being your thing until you face it. You cannot do it alone. Only you can do it. I love you. I will never stop reminding you of these things. And that for me was, like, critical. Oh, I really need to take acceptance and responsibility for my drinking. And that goes along with the inverse Spider-Man quote, "With great responsibility comes great power." So when you can take responsibility, not just for, like, your drinking problem or whatever, however you show up in the world, when you can take responsibility and accept the good and the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it, then you have power, you're empowered, and it just helps you navigate life easier. And I just want to share this slide again, just getting to this path of acceptance. This is from the stages of grief from Kubler-Ross, but we do, it's a process to get to acceptance. And that's why we talk about it, that's why we work on it. That's why it's a whole concept in so many different programs. That first step, and of course you come in and out of them, but just going through the denial that anything's even happening, the bargaining, for drinking for me, bargaining was trying to moderate and all the rules. And there was the anger like, oh, why can't I be like other people? And then the anger at big alcohol. And then the sadness, like, "Oh, I can't drink like other people, or I'm gonna miss out, or if things are changing." There was sadness. And then you get to a place of acceptance. And so that I just like to illustrate because we all go through that with different things in our lives, whether we're grieving the loss of someone who has passed away, or we're grieving the loss of an idea or an identity. We all go through this path to acceptance. I do want to make sure we talk about self acceptance because I think it's so important. These are just kind of ways you can get to self acceptance. So, one is self awareness, just observing and acknowledging your thoughts, your feelings, your behaviors, understanding your feelings are valid and you're allowed to experience them. Forgiving yourself. This one is huge. Everyone makes mistakes, it's part of being human. There are things that we regret in the past. And so we need to practice forgiveness for ourselves and learn from them. And then practice self compassion, just treating yourself with that same kindness and understanding that you offer all your friends in this group, all your loved ones, turning that on yourself. You can identify your strengths and accomplishments. Here we are. Let's focus on what is good about you. Celebrate your success. Celebrate those wins, even if they're small. Remind yourself of all your capabilities and all the progress you've made. And let go of comparison. Avoid comparing yourself to others. It just makes us feel inadequate. And everyone's on their own unique journey. So focus on your own growth and development and set realistic expectations. We don't have to be perfect. Perfection is unattainable. Understanding and accepting that can relieve a lot of pressure. And then surround yourself with positive influences. Think about the people that you spend the most time with. Find people who are going to be your people, who are supportive, who are positive, and they encourage you on your journey.
And so, my challenge to you is to really practice radical acceptance these next few days, weeks, month, and just see how different your life is if you can just set the paper down. If you can just allow experiences to happen around you, allow your feelings, just be willing to feel the feelings. See how that sits with you. And I want to invite you again, if you are looking for people to help you on your journey, if you want a group that's super supportive and helps lift you up, then please come join the next Alcohol a Day. It's the monthly dry group that I host every month to help you practice not drinking. Give you lots of tools, support. It's just a wonderful, wonderful way to change your drinking. So check that out, alcoholtippingpoint.com/alcoholiday, and use your podcast code LOVE, all capital letters, LOVE, to get 20% off. Hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks so much. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Alcohol Tipping Point podcast. Please share and review the show so you can help other people too. I want you to know I'm always here for you, so please reach out and talk to me on Instagram at Alcohol Tipping Point, and check out my website, alcoholtippingpoint.com, for free resources and help. No matter where you are on your drinking journey, I want to encourage you to just keep practicing, keep going. I promise you are not alone and you are worth it. Every day you practice not drinking is a day you can learn from. I hope you can use these tips we talked about for the rest of your week, and until then, talk to you next time.